hope so. We are here today, Lakeland Insights, with Jared Yates of Y Design Company, and we're just excited to bring you such a great, exciting message about design and branding and everything like that. And just real quick, I want to make a good announcement. Lakeland Insights, we're actually going to be creating our own Facebook page. The whole idea behind this, right? It's exciting.
It's awesome.
The whole idea behind this project was to create a community of people that come together, connect, relate, and help each other grow and be successful. And so we're still going to be streaming through the LBL page, not the forum, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to start posting our videos to this page. You can get information there. You can follow along. The interviewees will be able to post links to different articles and things like that that they're really excited about. So we're super excited to be able to get that launching. And with that, we're going to have our logo, which Y Design Company actually created for us. And just so you can see that right there, pretty excited to have that and be able to start implementing that and everything. And Jared and Katie definitely helped us with that. So we're really excited. And along those lines, we're going to be talking about branding today and logos and all those types of things. So, Jared, excited to have you on. Excited to have you with us today, and looking forward to getting some knowledge from you.
Well, I'm excited. There's a whole lot of things we could talk about with this, but hopefully we can provide some good value to people.
So I tell everyone who I interview it's 30 minutes, give or take. However passionate you get, we'll just take it from there, right? So. Awesome. Well, Jared, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in Lakeland and everything like that?
Well, I've been in Lakeland for 37 years. Just had my 37th birthday a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
So I was born and raised here. I'm a fifth generation Floridian on most sides and fourth generation on all sides.
Wow.
So pretty native crackers here. That's a good term,
right.
By the way.
Can we say that?
Yeah, we can. A cracker, actually, give you a little bit of history, is the old Florida cowboys.
Okay, yeah.
That cracked their whips instead of using ropes. So that's where that comes from.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about your business and what you guys do for people.
Well, we are Y Design Co., and the Y stands for Yates, naturally, but part of the kind of double entendre going on there is we want to create a little bit of intrigue for people. So we get a lot of questions, why?
Right.
So the reason for why is really because we have a passion, Katie and I both, to help people dig into their deeper why.
Right.
What their passion and purpose and motivation and
awesome.
What they why they do what they do.
Right.
So that's why we do what we do,
yeah.
is to really help people dig into that,
yeah.
and then portray that in a visual way, whether that's through an iconic logo, like we've done for you. If you want to grab that again, I'll just use that as an example, because, and there's not a real good view here, unless you can see that. It looks almost like a Dixie cup, but the double view there is insights kind of go both ways, or
right.
They can go both ways. And so what we did with that logo was kind of dig into why.
Right.
What are you trying to do with these interviews?
Right.
It is really to provide value for the people watching,
yeah.
but it's also for the person that's being interviewed to have an outlet for being able to share and all that. So that's kind of a little bit of background and
awesome.
And whatever, and we have such a good time doing it. Like it's being able to really dig into each person's and businesses why and what they're doing to help offer that to the world is really awesome.
Yeah, and so you have some background in the graphics industry, right?
I do. It comes from a lifetime of being a printer's son. My dad is Royce Yates at Poor Richard's Print Shop.
Awesome.
Been here for 700 years,
Right.
So
maybe just a little less.
Yeah, about 45.
Right.
Actually. And so a lot of people in Lakeland still know who he is. So I was raised in the printing industry, technically, which is pretty closely tied with graphics, obviously. And my start really was on his machines,
Yeah.
and his computers, and watching him and his graphic designer.
Right.
And it just kind of started an itch that I started scratching there. And then really, most of the background that I've had in graphic design has been self-taught, believe it or not. So I just have a passion for how the visual aspects of the world and of companies and how we can use that to really impact people.
Yeah, and we hear a lot of times how words can be used to express meaning or paint a picture or something, but literally design can absolutely do that as well, and not only just give a meaning but give a multi-dimensional meaning.
Yep. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Right.
That's very true, and especially with a logo in particular, a brand in general, but a logo in particular, because you're condensing down so much into what there is in a company and what there is in people, and to be able to portray that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So tell us a little bit about what a brand is, because I think a lot of people have a singularity view of a brand, and I don't think that's necessarily what a brand is. So tell us, what is a brand, and why should we care about having one?
Well, to answer the first part, what is a brand? It really boils down to one simple thing. A brand is the perception of a thing, of a person, of an entity, of a business, of a cause. It's the way that is perceived.
Yeah.
And that covers a multitude of things. So a brand really could be the visual aspect of it. It could also be some underlying things like attitude, like the smile. I've seen a meme on Facebook where people say your smile is your logo.
Right.
So that's kind of the general overall thing. Kind of a tricky aspect of a brand, though, is that because perception is reality, but each person can perceive things differently.
Right.
Then what makes that tricky is trying to create something consistent that really is true to who you are as a company or organization or whatever the case is, to speak that truth into the world in a way that represents you well.
Yeah, and so a brand's not just a logo. It's not just a design that you plop up on a website or put on some business cards or something.
Right.
It's like kind of like you said before. It's who you are. It's your purpose. It's your mission. It's why you're doing what you're doing. And I think
how that's perceived. Excuse me.
No, you're fine.
But it's also how that's perceived by people.
Yeah.
And all of those aspects go into what makes a good brand. The logo, definitely, and all of the other pieces.
Right.
But how that's perceived is really what the takeaway is.
And that's an important thing, because at the end of the day, there's a saying in sales that the customer, the market is always right. And a brand isn't always necessarily just for us. It's for us to portray a message so that our clients, our customers, the people in our network, everyone understands what we do in a great, concise way. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. And I ran across an article just recently that gives kind of a simple blueprint of what makes up a great brand. So if you don't mind, if we've got a few minutes, I'd just like to read that.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think it has a really good
message,
concise way of saying what a brand is and how we can really make that brand understandable. Because really, a lot of people think brands are for the big companies, the McDonald's or Nike's or whatever. But a brand is really something that every small business or micro business or whatever needs to understand.
Well, yeah,
because of the perception of their company to their audience.
Right, and if you're trying to, it doesn't matter how large or small your business is. If you're trying to do something, if you have a purpose, if you have a mission for your business, you want people to know what that is, understand that, and we've talked a lot about have, accessing the right customer base, the right client base, and not every client is going to be a great client for your business.
Right.
And so a brand is a great way to get your message out there of, hey, look, we may do X, but Y is really what we stand for, is our mission, is our purpose, is what we're trying to do. X is just a vehicle to be able to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Awesome. So this article really condenses that into what you're saying. So the title is A Simple Blueprint for a Successful Brand. And I'll just read this here. Brand is the perception someone holds in their head about you, a product, a service, an organization, a cause, or an idea. Brand building is the deliberate and skillful application of effort to create a desired perception in someone else's mind.
Wow.
It's that simple. To build a great brand, you need the right blueprint for shaping those perceptions. Fortunately, the best blueprint begins with just three components: the what, the how, and the feeling. What, how, and feeling. This three-part blueprint allows us to think clearly about brands for any type of product, service, or organization, whether that's large or small. Consider the example of Southwest Airlines. What service do they provide? Fundamentally, it's pretty simple. They move you from here to there. That's Southwest's what. The what of a brand is typically straightforward, and it ought to be. The most successful brands tend to represent only one what in their customers' minds. After what comes how. Understanding the how of a brand begins with seeing that for every product or service, there can be many ways of delivering the what. Your brand's how is the special way that you've chosen to deliver your what. So to me, that's a really good way. And if we were to ask you, the audience, what is Southwest's how?
Yeah.
Well, one of their biggest things, obviously their how is to get you from here to there by air. So that's their first how. They're an airline.
Mm-hmm.
For Southwest, their first how is by air. Southwest began flying its first passengers on short hauls to and from second-tier airports in Texas, where the competition was more likely a Greyhound than any other airline. There's a deep branding lesson in that observation. The customer is trying to accomplish a specific what? A specific result. All means of accomplishing that result, the hows, are what compete with one another. Nothing else competes. Southwest has a second how.
Okay.
All right. This is what they really advertise these days, is at a low price. That's their second how. Take away either of Southwest's two distinct hows or performance aspects, and the brand, that is our perception of Southwest, starts to fall apart.
Right.
Any number of providers can offer low price transportation. Likewise, any number of airlines can sell you a seat on a plane, but only Southwest is offering the entire package at once. The what and the hows that differentiate their brand in customers' minds. So, does this sound obvious? Yes. But you wouldn't know it from the way owners and managers misuse their brands and fumble brand building efforts. The distinct performance aspects of a product or service are the key elements of the brand in our minds. The more plainly the distinct performance aspects are associated in our minds, the stronger the brand. That doesn't keep the biggest brands with the biggest budgets and the most pedigreed employees from screwing it up again and again. Enjoyed a new Coke lately?
Right.
Right.
Exactly, yep.
If your 100-year-old brand is the real thing, what is your reformulation? The unreal thing?
Right.
No. What and how are the fundamentals of a sound brand blueprint? But the most successful brands include the third component, feeling. Salespeople often observe that customers want to do business with people they like. Well, who doesn't? Similarly, we prefer to consume products and services we feel good about. Southwest customers like the Southwest brand. They like those. One Southwest flight I took, the flight attendant, as we were coming in for landing, was particularly bumpy and coming into Chicago, and the lady said, "Captain Crunch has brought us in safely." We laugh about that.
Right.
Like, that's one of those things that endears us to Southwest.
Right.
The brand is fun, laid back. It makes people feel good. The emotional high and emotional high ground really stands out across the landscape of grim, unhappy airline brands. Like one or two we could mention, but we won't. So to summarize, brand building is the deliberate, skillful application of effort to create a desired perception in the mind of another person. Now we have a blueprint for creating that perception. 3 basic elements of that: the what, the how, and the feeling.
Awesome. And so how does that, break that down into, I think that was an amazing article, and we'll definitely make sure that everyone has access to that. But for everyone who's maybe they have a brand and they're maybe they're trying to construct a brand. Like, I think there's a lot of people out there that are trying to figure out even what their brand is, even what the purpose of their business is.
Mm-hmm.
And so breaking it down into those 3 categories: the how, the what, and the feeling, right? Almost like Simon Sinek's golden circle, right? The how, the what, and the why.
Mm-hmm.
Except, opposite way, but
yeah. But really condensing down into the most important thing. Yeah.
And so that's a great way for anyone to take their business, take a brand, break it down into an advertisement, a logo, anything like that. Give us in your own words, like, what's the process of doing that? Where should people start? And how do they break those down?
Well, in Simon Sinek's classic book, I agree with him. I say start with why. And that's really why we are Why Design Co. And I mean, that's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's true, because the best way, I believe, to build a brand is to really dig into why you're doing what you're doing. Before you can really, the what is sort of obvious if you know what your business, especially if your business is already established. But if you haven't had the kind of effort, if you haven't put the kind of effort in to building your brand, which I believe is something a little bit different than building your company,
right?
Then you really haven't thought about these things, and possibly haven't thought about them in a long time. So if you start with why, that's the fundamental thing, and then build out and define, write down. I believe it's Stephen Covey said that when you write down things, that really it's that
cements it in your mind.
Yeah, I forget the word, but there's a functional thing. Like it really takes it from just a thought and starts putting it into physical practice.
Right.
So when you write down your what, you write down your why, you really clarify what your vision is, and then to say how you do that, because like the article said, that really helps you compete against everybody else that's trying to do the same what that you're doing.
Yeah.
So those things are important.
We use the example a lot. If you think about chairs, right? Someone had to have the idea for a chair. Someone had to be like, man, I want to sit on something comfortable at a certain level. And so they had to think about what it was, and then they actually had to draw it out, write it out, and then they could create it. But the person drawing out what a chair would be, what it looks like, helped the person who crafted that chair to actually bring it into existence.
Yep.
And I think there's just a fundamental and really cool correlation between that example and branding. Where do you think most people have trouble with their brand, or where do people struggle the most with putting their brand together?
I think as far as small businesses are concerned, which I think is probably the majority of our audience, is that perception of what brand is.
Okay.
Their brand of what a brand is.
Right.
In a way. And I think if you can kind of peel back the layers and look at it for what it is, I think the most difficult thing would be that you don't have to spend a lot of money, but you do need to spend a significant amount of time and effort and passion in really delving into those things, so that for you and for your audience and for your customers and for your employees, for your own team, for their own motivation and their own sense of purpose for coming to work every day. Spending the time and effort necessary to really build that brand, I think if you can overcome that one hurdle, that would be significant.
And I want to go back to something you touched on before, because you talked about building a business and your brand. But how would you say? I mean, this may be an obvious question, but how would you say that having your brand affects you building your business, reaching clients, getting your message out there, what you do? How would you say that correlates? And how would you say maybe having let's not say a bad brand, but an effective brand versus having a very effective brand, and how that correlates to building a business?
Well, in some ways, just the fact that you are in business means that you have a brand.
Right.
So to take that one step further, I think consistency is one of those things that it will not only build trust and loyalty in your customers, but I think consistency does something for you and for your own team.
Yeah.
That and it really is about building a brand.
Yeah.
But the down the road effects of that will keep your customers coming back.
Right.
In a way that even if you didn't do that intentionally,
right.
But if you've kind of done that subconsciously in a way, if you've got a good customer service system, you know, if the people who answer your phone aren't jerks when they deal with people,
right.
You know, like all of that, all those things are components of a good brand, which is going to build your company,
right.
And help you grow. So, and help people have good experiences with you that makes them want to come back.
Right.
So I think there's some aspects of that really they tie in very closely together. And you may have been building a brand without even realizing it.
Right.
But again, going back and really setting those things down about what you want your brand to be and how those things, how you can intentionally take those things and build in a consistent way. Thinking about this, and it kind of ties into to the creative side as well.
Right.
And I'll reference this picture behind us. This is the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. The thought had to happen. You know, they had to do a what? They had to cross this body of water, right, to get from the island of Manhattan to Brooklyn, right? So, what they accomplished ended up being an iconic symbol for the city of New York.
Right.
And now it's one that if you just look at this bridge, you know automatically the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco is the same way. You look at the bridge, that's part of the brand of that city.
Right.
And they've done it in a magnificent way, a beautiful way, in a timeless way, which I think we'll touch on a little bit later, some of those aspects of one part, a very essential part of your brand. Your logo. But in doing that, they helped establish something that's been around for a very long time, but that's a very iconic part of who they are. It's not just what or how they do what they do, but it's that feeling of New York.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Awesome. And I think a lot of times, just from personal experience, when you step back and you focus and you start really think, what is my brand? What is it? You know, what is my message I give people? It can help you in so many other ways. It can help you in who you realize your client base is, in other forms of marketing and advertising and networking, and really help you focus in your business on the aspects, the client base, the specifics that you should be focused on within your business, the people you can help the most.
Yeah, and let me add to that. It's not just what is your brand that you are communicating, but what do you want that to be?
Right.
And how can you craft that from this point on?
Right.
Both in those underlying things, in the what, the how, and the feeling, but also in the visual aspects, the things that will help create that feeling in people.
So if you have a certain client base, right, that has to meet certain qualifications to be your perfect client, what are they looking for from your business? Almost kind of mindset of when you're putting your brand together. What are they looking for? What is my mission? How do I mesh the two? So that they know what I do is exactly what they're looking for. That's fantastic. Well, let's jump to the logos, man.
Okay,
I'm
let's
excited
do it.
here. So So what's in a good logo?
Okay.
Tell us what we need to know.
Well, let me start off with saying a logo is what a lot of people think of as kind of the essence of what your brand is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true in a way, but
Mm-hmm.
that's only part of it. And
Okay.
I think what we've already talked about is really what the essence of your brand is. Now, a quote that I heard is, a logo is to a company what a face is to a person.
Mm.
So a good logo, a good solid, timeless logo, something that's going to last you, just like your face is going to hopefully last you for the rest of your life, a good logo should last you for a very long time. And a good logo designer is, and this is what I strive to be, I'm not saying I'm the best, but that's what I strive to be, is somebody that's going to take those elements, those things that you want,
Mm-hmm.
and craft them in such a way that it will create that long term. It'll give you longevity
Right.
in your logo. And you look at the best logos that are out there, the ones that are consistently at the top of everybody's lists.
Mm-hmm.
The Apples.
Yep.
That's always within the top 5. Nike,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
McDonald's, Coca-Cola,
Yep.
and logos like that. Those are all very iconic because they create a feeling, really,
Right.
especially over a long period of time. Most of those have been around for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just delve down into what, as far as those are kind
Yeah.
of the best of the best.
Right.
And then we can look at some other ones as well, just as far as
Mm-hmm.
concepts. But they're simple.
Yep.
They are meaningful. They're memorable.
Mm-hmm.
They have a timeless aspect to them,
Right.
that longevity that we're talking about. And there's just, I've got some other ones here. Actually, you can reference an article I posted on LBL and on our Y Design Co page yesterday.
Okay.
So this is Wednesday, so
Tuesday.
that really runs down and gives a little more in-depth perspective on what a good logo really is. But I think those are the fundamental aspects. So you look at, let's just take apples, for instance. Now, does the name or the logo of Apple have anything to do with what
they
Apple does?
No.
No. But why is it so good? Number one, it's a very simple
Mm-hmm.
representation.
Easy to remember.
It's a great drawing of an apple.
Mm-hmm.
The little bite out of the side makes it even more memorable. There's
Right.
another aspect of it. And it's timeless.
Mm-hmm.
They started out with the striped version
Mm-hmm.
in the 70s. But the form stayed the same.
Right.
That timeless form has lasted for,
Right.
40 years now.
Yeah.
Nike's a great example as well.
Mm-hmm.
Designed by a college student that was paid $35, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, when she did it, and they weren't even real excited about it when they
Right.
did it. But they just said, oh, whatever, let's just start slapping it on things and see how it works.
Right.
And they've slapped it on things now for 40, 45 years,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hope she got paid more, a little bit more than
She
35.
did. She got paid in stock in a diamond ring in the form of a swoosh
Well, there you
a
go.
little bit later.
So
But, yeah, so she got some good compensation.
perfect.
But that timeless aspect of
Right.
just, it signifies a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't tell you what they do. It doesn't tell you
Right.
how they do it, but it gives you a feeling, and it's consistent. It's the same that you've seen from childhood.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. It's familiar.
Yep.
And I just want to touch on something with that because when we talk about business, the next wave of large client base is going to be millennials, right?
Yep.
And one of the biggest things that I've been reading is millennials are so brand. They pay attention to brands. Is what I'm trying to say.
Brand conscious.
Yeah, brand conscious.
Yep.
And so, for me being in the financial industry, read an article that said, if Google and Yahoo, right, offered financial services advice and products and had that part of their business, that most millennials would gravitate towards those businesses in a heartbeat because they are familiar with the company, they're familiar with the brand, what they stand for, and what they do.
Yep.
And so, just keeping that in mind of, hey, if you're going to have a business, you're going to have a business for a long time. If you're growing a business, the next wave is going to be millennials, and millennials are super, super, super brand conscious. They would rather know why you do what you do than what you do, and if they don't like why you do what you do, they won't do business with you.
It's very true.
Just simple as that.
And let me ask you this question: do you know why that is?
Why?
I don't really know.
You're just asking if I know because I'm
No, I know part of the answer. I don't know if anybody can really nail down all of the whys of that, but I think part of it is because there have been so many. There has been a concerted effort and focus on the concepts of brand since millennials have been conscious, even before they were conscious as little kids. I think the stat now is something like 4,000 logos a day or something that people interact with without even realizing it. On cereal boxes and on their phones and in the shower, for crying out loud. And driving down the road, I mean, you interact with logos, i.e. brands, in every aspect part of your life. And so I think part of the thing with millennials is there's been so much focus on, at least on kind of the broader scale, of how important branding is. And I think if we can just kind of scale it down to our little world, in the small business community, I think we can really capitalize on a lot of what millennials are looking for. And not just millennials, I think that probably scales to everyone in a way, partly for the same reason. So,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, definitely over the years you can see that, for whatever reason it is, the companies that have been around the longest, the companies that are the strongest, typically have amazing brands, amazing, logos, and they're just iconic, almost at this point. I just want to touch on real quick before we go. Can brands change? Can they evolve?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the short answer.
Right.
And in a way, I think they should evolve.
Right.
I don't think they should necessarily change because of that consistency and keeping the same things over the long haul. But I think they should evolve based on a few different things. One is, as you grow, you're able to serve different and more clients. Most businesses, I would say, fall in that category. So as you grow, you need to reevaluate things about not necessarily the why, but the what and the how, and make those shifts and adjustments accordingly. Another way, I think, a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, and we're at your office now here in Dixieland. Dixieland is a prime example, I believe, of businesses that have been around for a long time that could do with a new look at their branding and what constitutes their brand, and then to create in a visual sense a new landscape for themselves, and just driving down South Florida Avenue, I think we could capitalize on a lot of the visual landscape, as I like to call it, to really improve it and make. I kind of say this as designers, as a community, we're responsible for improving the visual landscape, and it's our job to craft that. And so, I think if business owners, small business owners, really kind of take a second look at what they're about and how they do what they do and the feeling they want to evoke in the community, we can really make a good change, a positive impact on the visual landscape, and I think in some ways improve the general feeling of how things are perceived.
Well, fantastic. Jared, you brought so much value today. I think you've given us, I think people are probably going to watch this a few times.
Well, I hope so.
Just to make sure that they're taking some notes. I'll probably take some notes because
I'll probably rewatch it.
Right.
I mean, it's great.
But just a lot of value, a lot of ideas and things that we can work on. And so just want to thank you for being here today. If people have questions, I'm sure you can ask, you can contact Jared, ask him questions just about our discussion today, find out a little bit more about what they do. If you need any help or ideas for your brand or logo, Jared, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, anyway, I'm very available, and Katie's very available. I guess phone numbers.
Yep. Yeah. So if you want to give us your phone number, website.
Okay. Facebook.
Okay.
You message us on Facebook, text us, whatever. So my phone number is 863-666, shocker, 5515. That was on purpose, by the way. And Katie's was as well. Katie's phone number is 863-666-1199. So feel free to reach out to us that way.
Awesome.
Our website is designco.com, and our Facebook page is just Designco.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in.
Absolutely.
Please keep an eye out for our Lakeland Insights page that we're going to be bringing to you. I'm really, really excited about doing that. And we'll see you next week, and tune in to hear some great information, and let's have a great week and grow. All right, guys?
Awesome. Rock it out.